Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about expressions you can use with your coworkers. Your coworkers are the people you work with. Let's get started. First, I want to talk about some common greetings you can use with your coworkers. A very common way to greet your coworker when you arrive at the office is morning, morning. So you can use good morning if you like, or just morning with that clear ing sound at the end, but it's also very common and very friendly to just say morning, morning in that quick, like kind of upbeat way. To respond, you just say the same thing in response, morning or good morning, or some people draw out the sound and they say good morning, something like that. You might also hear people make this good sound very short, so it sounds like good morning, good morning. So there are a few different ways you can respond to this. Of course, if you meet your coworker in the afternoon, you can say good afternoon or afternoon as well. Okay, let's move on to a couple more greetings. How are you today? How are you today? So how are you today is asking like this day specifically. So if you see this person every day of the week or every weekday, you want to know on this particular day, on this specific day, how are you? So to respond, you can say good, or great, or a little tired, or I'm all right. So however you're feeling, you can respond with good, great, whatever suits your situation. How are you today? Good. How are you today? I'm all right. So this is basically the same response as you would use with how are you, but just how are you today? Another very common one is this past tense question. This is a very common one on Mondays, so after the weekend. How was your weekend? How was your weekend? At native speed, it sounds like, how's your weekend? How's your weekend? So this was gets very short. It becomes like was, how was your weekend? So I know it may sound a little like how is your weekend, but that doesn't make any sense. How is your weekend is a present tense question, like how is your weekend now? But if it's Monday and the weekend has finished, we've just finished the weekend, this is definitely a past tense question. How was your weekend? So the weekend we just experienced, how was it? To answer, you can use some of these responses to how are you today? How was your weekend? Good. How was your weekend? Great. And usually you should follow up with something specific, like I went to a movie, or I went to a baseball game, or I saw my favorite TV show, or I ate a really good dish. So give some information in past tense. I went, I saw, I ate, I heard, whatever. You could say, fine, nothing special. It was fine. I didn't do anything big. So just to show that it was normal for you. You could also say, it was relaxing. Or maybe if your weekend had lots of stuff, you could say it was busy. So whatever, just make a short expression for your response and give a little bit of detail. That's kind of natural to do. If you just say, good, you? It sounds like maybe you don't want to talk about it, or you're kind of like hiding something. So it's generally good to share a little bit so that you can make relationships with people. Okay, this one, the next expression, how was your activity? How was your activity? So again, this is using past tense was here. And this is something that we use when we know our coworker has something planned. So for example, if you talk to your coworker on Tuesday afternoon and they say, I have a special dinner tonight. On Wednesday, you can say, how was your dinner? How was your dinner? So the dinner you told me about the day before. So that's why we use your here. How was your dinner? You can use other activities here, like how was your party last weekend? Or how was your conference? Or how was your trip? So depending on what kind of information your coworker shared, you can use a different noun phrase in this pattern to ask about that specific thing. How was your activity? So again, to respond to this, you can use the same kinds of answers as we've practiced here. It was good, it was great, it was relaxing, it was busy, or it was okay, it was not bad. So just giving a little bit of information just to share your experience, or make like those relationships, make having a chance to bond with your coworker a little bit. Okay, so these are kind of greetings and kind of everyday like chat topics. But now I want to move on to talking about some work-specific expressions that you can use. So these two have kind of similar grammar. They both use this have you past participle expression. Let's look at this first one. Have you talked to or with person? Have you talked to our boss? Have you talked with our boss? In this case, there's really not a difference. You can use talked to or talked with. For me, the difference here is just that with tends to sound a tiny bit more like there are two people talking. It's like a two-way conversation. Maybe sometimes using to sounds more like a one-way conversation, but this is not a rule by any means. You can use either here. So, have you talked to our manager, or have you talked to our team member? This means, because we have this present perfect pattern here, have you talked, it means since like you came to the office this morning until this conversation, did you have the experience of talking to this person? So maybe there's some important information you need to know. So you might ask your coworker, have you talked to this person? Or have you talked to our boss today? Have you talked to so-and-so? So this means like there's probably something you need to know. To answer this question, yes, yes. You could say, yes, I have. Or yes, you can use a simple past tense answer in your reply too. Like, yes, I spoke to her this morning. So I use spoke in my reply. That's fine. You can use spoke in your reply, even though talked was used here. Or you could say talked as well. They're both fine. Like, yes, I talked to her this morning. Yes, I spoke with her this morning. All great. So you can say, yes, I have as well. Either response is fine. For a no response, you can say, no, I haven't. No, I haven't spoken to her. No, I haven't talked with her. Or maybe if you expect to, like you have a meeting scheduled, you can say, no, not yet. No, not yet. But I'm going to talk to her this afternoon. So you can use a couple of these different patterns to share like when you spoke to someone, if it's complete, or when you're going to speak to someone, if it's not complete yet. So have you talked to that person? Yeah, I have. I spoke to her this morning. Or have you talked to her? No, not yet. I'm going to talk to her in this morning's meeting. So there are lots of different ways to answer this quick, short question. Similarly then, I mentioned that these have similar grammar structures. Have you heard about topic? Have you heard about topic? So again, we're using this present perfect, have you heard, past participle here, meaning from some point in the past, maybe this morning, until our conversation now, did you have the experience of hearing, did you get this new information about this topic? For example, have you heard about this afternoon's meeting? So maybe there's some kind of an update. Or have you heard about the schedule changes? So this coworker, the person asking the question, is using this pattern to like kind of ask their colleague, to ask their coworker, did you receive this information? Like, did you hear about this news? So I've just used the expression, did you hear about something? You may also hear that just as a simple past tense expression. You may also hear, have you heard about? Both are fine to use and they communicate the same idea here. So again, to answer this kind of question, we can use this pattern. Yes, I have, or no, not yet. Or if you want to use no in this case, like no, I haven't, what's up? Or no, I haven't, what's the information? So you might ask a question in response to this if you don't have the information about the topic. Okay, so with that, let's continue on to this part of the lesson. This is used, I made these three sections or these three examples to help you with request patterns. So when you need to ask your coworker for something, for help, you need them to send something, whatever, how do you do that in a polite way, but that's also kind of friendly because you're a bit close? So what I like to do, and what many people I have worked with like to do, is we begin our requests with something like this. Sorry to bother you, but. Sorry to bother you, but. Or you might see some people just say, sorry to bother you, and then they make their request. So sorry to bother you means like, I'm really sorry to interrupt your work, or I know you're busy, and so I'm really sorry to contact you, but I need some help, or I need something. So sorry to bother you, but could you please send me item? So this item could be anything, and this is usually used for email, like please send me something digitally, but of course we can use this for physical items as well, like to send something in the mail. Some examples here. Could you please send me the report? Could you please send me our data? Could you please send me those files? Could you please send me any updates? So there are many different ways we can use this. We can use the indefinite article, the definite article, no article. It really depends on what you're asking for. So for example here, please send me those files. So those files, the speaker would use those files in this case if the listener, if the person reading or hearing this message already knows which files the speaker means. So for example, you're in a meeting and you're discussing some important files. The speaker might say, could you please send me those files, like in an email later. So could you please send me those files? Another request pattern you can use is, could you please help me task, or could you please help me with task? So I have with here because there are a couple of different ways that we can use this. Please help me verb as part of the task, but sometimes we don't have a specific verb. We just want help with a noun phrase. So let's look at some examples. Could you please help me prepare the meeting room? Prepare the meeting room. So here, prepare is my verb. I don't need to use with here because we use with before a noun phrase. Could you please help me prepare the meeting room? So this one is okay without with. This is my task here. My whole task is included in this expression. This one, however, uses with. Could you please help me with this month's data analysis? With this month's data analysis. So with before a noun phrase, in this case, this month's data analysis. So why would we use this pattern? In this case, perhaps the speaker or the person writing this email doesn't have a specific task that they want the listener or the reader to do. They just want to get some general support for something. Could you please help me with this task? So you don't have a specific direction, you don't have like a specific guide just yet, but you want to get someone's support. You can use this. Another example with a verb then, could you please help me review the contract? Review the contract. So you can see this example and this example. These are very specific things that we are requesting. If you just kind of want to make a more general request, you can use with plus a noun phrase. Okay, one more example pattern for asking for help is, could I ask for your advice about topic? Could I ask for your advice about topic? So this is used when you want to get someone's feedback about something, or you have a question about something, you're not sure how to do it or how to approach it, but you think your coworker does have some information or they have some knowledge, some special skills that can help you with something. So for example, could I ask for your advice about this letter I'm writing? So you're writing a letter and maybe you need someone to check it for grammar, or you need someone to give you some feedback about the content of your letter. You could use this pattern. Could I ask for your advice about this letter I'm writing? Another example, could I ask for your advice about the design of this graphic? So maybe you don't have great design skills, but your coworker does. Like, could I ask for your help or could I ask for your advice about the design of this graphic? So you can use a lot of different things here. And using this pattern sounds kind of like you really would appreciate their expertise, their specialization here. So we can connect all of these patterns to this one I talked about before. Sorry to bother you, but could you please send me that thing? Or sorry to bother you, but could you please help me with this task? Or sorry to bother you, but could I ask for your advice about this topic? And then I like to end my requests with this: whenever you have a moment. Whenever you have a moment. So this means at any time, at any point in which you have a free moment or a free minute, whenever you have a moment. So of course we have many moments, but this expression means whenever, at any time that you are free. It's kind of a soft way to say, like, I know you're busy, again, but if you have a moment, if you have just a minute, I would really appreciate your help. So can I ask for your advice about this topic whenever you have a moment? So that just sounds like it's no rush, like I just want to ask for your help if you have time. So this is how I like to use these expressions to make soft but kind of friendly requests. Okay, the last expression I want to talk about is one that you can use when you just want to share information. Let's look at the example. I just wanted to send along information. I just wanted to send along information. Here I'm using past tense wanted, wanted. You could use present tense, like I just want to send along some information, but we often use like past tense in these kinds of expressions to soften our statement. I just wanted to send along some information. So again, there's not a request here. You're just providing some information that you think would be useful for the other person, or maybe it's important for your work somehow. For example, I just wanted to send along some recent news related to our work. So some recent news related to our work. This could be an article you read or some news about a competitor. Like a competitor means another company or another organization doing the same or similar work as your company. So this can be anything that's related to your job, to your company, whatever. So I wanted to send along some recent news related to our work. Another example, I just wanted to send along an update about our project's progress. So this is a very common one. You're providing an update. Maybe there's no need to share feedback or there's no request, but you just want to share an update about your progress. You can use this pattern to do it. Finally, I just wanted to send along a few photos from the company trip. So maybe this is a situation you have in your company or your organization, just sharing some photos or sharing some kind of friendly social information from time to time too. So this is a great pattern to use if there's not a request, but you just want to provide some information. Okay, so these are some expressions that you can use with your coworkers. I hope that you found a few things that were useful for you. Of course, if you have any other expressions. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.